Hello, everyone. Welcome to Families Grow Together show today. Today is Welcome to Families Grow Together show number 34. Today, we'll be talking about expectations. Last week, we talked about expectations, and we heard that expectations is a strong belief that something will happen. Last week, we talked about expectation we place on ourselves. Today, we'll be talking about the expectations we place on others. The others can be our children, our siblings, our spouses, our partners, our friends, our colleagues. The list is endless, but we will have to focus on the family because that is where we really want to get things going. I am Nelly Kwasungwi, a transformational life coach and the co-founder of Hand in Hand Community CIC. So for today, I'll hand over to Aqua, who will be leading us through this conversation. If you have any points, put them in the comments and we will read that, or if it's an answer, we'll attempt to answer. Or if you have a contribution, still put it in the chat and we'll read it out. So thank you so much, and I hand over to Aqua.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our 31st Families Grow Together show. My name is Aqua, an early years practitioner, a parenting coach, a mother. I am everything that you can expect a woman to be. Right, and your friend as well. I learned that from John Maxwell. Hi, I am John. I am your friend. So I'm going to steal that. Hi, everyone. My name is Aqua. I am your friend. So anyhow, today we're looking at expectations, continuing from last week, where we look at what we expect of ourselves and the kinds of things that help us achieve what we have set ourselves to do, like goals, or what hinder us, because sometimes we put a lot of expectations on ourselves or very little expectations. So it depends on who you are and your personality. So today we'll be focusing on the expectations that we place on others. Now, some of these expectations are brought about by the society. We grow up, we live in a community, and we learn that, okay, this is what I expect of my father, this is what I expect of my mother, this is what I expect of my siblings, or this is what I expect of my children. And as such, sometimes we do not live the life that we truly want or that we truly craft or would like to craft for ourselves, because we're living for other people. We're trying to achieve or meet other people's expectations without really looking at our own lives and what we really want our lives to look like. So today we'll discuss the expectations that we place on other people, that we as individuals have placed on others. And during the discussion, we might come up, things may arise that, or expectations may arise that other people have placed on us. But let us start with the expectations that we place on our family members. Now, what is a family? A family can be that nuclear unit of parents, father, mother, children, or it could be that extended family like we have in Africa. We come from big family. It could be with your grandparents, your aunties, your uncles, your cousins, your second cousins. A family could, it's as much as you want to describe it. It could be nuclear, it could be extended, or it could be a family that you formed outside blood relations. So you could have a group of friends who have become more like a family than even your own blood relatives. Or you can become a part of a church family. So today, let's give ourselves the boundary of the nuclear family. And let's talk about the relationships and the expectations that we have of those relationships. So I'll start with a question, Nelly. What are some of the things that you expected your parents to do for you?
Thank you for that question, the opening question. That's okay. Growing up, I did not even know that I could have expectations because I just went with what my parents had for me because I knew my parents knew what I needed. So I had no expectations. But when I started realizing that there's something like expectations, looking back now, I would say I had the expectations from my parents that they would be the best people to care for me. And I would say they did that, they played that role. So probably that's what one of the things that I was not really thinking that it was sort of expectations. But I like telling stories. I'll start off with the story. So one incident that happened was one day I came back from school and my duty was to wash the plates. On that day, I washed my plate and something happened. One of my siblings put the plate after I had washed the plate. So when my mom came, she was upset and she shouted at me. And because I was innocent, I got really, really upset. And then it was meal time, supper time. I refused that I will not eat. And my expectation at that time was that my mom will come and beg me because I had seen her do that with my younger sister. So that was my expectation that she will come and apologize and then beg me and probably give me an extra slice of a chicken because that day would be chicken. But to my greatest surprise, it didn't happen. So that was my expectation. And as I was in my room, bit by bit, the noise was slowing down, movement in the house was slowing down to the extent that there was no movement. What happened was everyone had gone to bed and everyone had slept. But my stomach was really, really rumbling and I couldn't sleep. So that was due to the expectations that I placed on my mom that she would come and apologize for shouting at me for something I did not do. But then it didn't work out. So that was just an example that came to mind about expectations. Yeah, unmute Aqua.
First level of disappointment, like they say, disappointment is the gap between expectations and the unmet outcomes or the unmet needs. That gap is disappointment. So that was a disappointing day for you. Well, I hope you learned your lesson and didn't.
You know what? It was a
again.
disappointing day. But then I had to go because everyone was asleep. I went into the kitchen and I ate my food. It was all cold. And the funniest part was my mom could hear everything. She monitored my footsteps. And early in the morning, she came into my room and she was like, "Oh, you ate your food cold."
Like you had a choice.
So since then, it's a lesson. It was a lesson that I learned. And I mean, at that time, I was like, I think 8 years old till today. I still remember as if it was yesterday.
Those are some of the things that mark you, isn't it? Because there was
Yeah.
an emotional attachment to the experience, and as such, you remember it because of the feelings that you had. Okay, that's great. For me, as growing up, like you, some of these concepts didn't even cross our minds as children growing up because I knew that, okay, I've been born into this family, but parents' duty is to, provide, care for us and do what they're supposed to do as parents. But like everybody else, everybody has their disappointments at one point or another when your needs are not met, because disappointment only comes when you feel deprived of something, or when you have as the definition goes, an expected result and you do not get it, an expected outcome and you do not get the outcome. So I have a story as well that my father is dead now, God rest his soul. When I was in high school, I'm not sure if I've told you this story before. When I was in high school, I was in a boarding school. It was in Casbambili. And one weekend I left and I came home because I needed my stuff replenishing. And when I came home, my father was going out. And when I just met him when he was about to go out, I'm like, "You're going out, when are you coming back?" He said he didn't know when he was going to come back. And I'm like, what about, how am I going to go back to school if you don't know when you're coming back? I need money to go back to school. And he told me that I didn't ask you to come for the weekend. And I'm like, what? I was so angry. I wrote a letter to disown my father. I was that angry. I'm like, if it was my brother, you would not even ask a question. I don't know whether that was the case. I don't know whether it was favoritism or not, but I said, if it was my brother, you would have given him what he wanted. Anything that my siblings ask, you give them. But if it's me, I have to ask in order to come home. I'm disowning you. And I sat in my room writing a letter. My elder sister went and told my mom. And my mom took the letter and she gave me what I needed. But I was so angry with my dad. I'm like, what? Who am I supposed to go to for my needs if I come to you and you say that you didn't ask me to come? So what should I do, stay in school and die? I was so angry. So anyway, that was that. So sometimes we plan our things. I didn't know whether I had money or not. But because I knew that he was my father, I expected that obviously he's going to give me money. But we never know exactly what, being an adult and a parent now, knowing when my children have come and asked me for things and I've not been able to give them at that time, I now see that maybe he may not have had money then to give me. And as such, I had placed an expectation on him that he wasn't aware of. And I became angry because of the expectations that I placed on him. And it wasn't his fault either way, but it didn't change the fact that I was still angry.
Always lessons to be learned.
Always lessons to learn when we get older. We don't learn the lessons when it happens. We learn the lessons afterwards. Anyhow, so that was some of the expectations that we place on parents. Now, society itself places expectations on parents. God himself placed expectations on parents because it says, bring up their children in the right way, in the fear and admonition of the Lord. So which is what? Be respectful, be kind, to treat other people as you want them to be treated. So we have expectations that are placed on us by God, by the society. And as parents, obviously you've brought children into the world. You are expected to look after the children that you've brought into the world because it's a choice. Nobody forces anybody to have children. But when you have the children, you have to look after them. So sometimes, even though society places the expectations on us, it is but normal, it is to be expected, so to speak. What do you think about that?
Yeah, when you were talking, a lot of things came to mind because as a social worker, the expectations, it's like parents, they make children and it is their responsibility to mend those children, bring those children up from infancy to when they get to adulthood or when they get to an age that they can take care of themselves. Being a social worker and having people around in a community, this is a massive, massive problem because a lot of families now, some, I don't even know whether you class as family or what, but in some households, you have children, and obviously those children have fathers, but then the fathers are either physically available, emotionally unavailable, or both physically and emotionally unavailable. Some are physically available, but the torment that they give their children, it is unbelievable. So then, as a social worker, we always step in because that's the role of of social services to take care of vulnerable children and their families. So social services get in now and make sure that the children are safeguarded, the children are protected. And it's not only, the social services is not only in the UK, it's worldwide. It's a profession that is recognized worldwide to safeguard and protect vulnerable children and adults as well. So that is an expectation that parents need to take care of their children, but the society is the way it is. Things are not going that way. Parents make babies, and who cares for the children? Sometimes some say it's none of their business. And then other services, other people step in because children are such precious gifts that need to be cherished. So other people step in. So yeah, those expectations are there, but then people need to step up to take the responsibility. Because if you look at personal experience, if you did not have that roof over your head, you did not have the food that your parents provided for you, how would you have been today? Though we know that your past does not define your future, but there are some bases because we know that child development is essential. We have the foundational ages that is crucial to children. So yes, there are those expectations, and it will each and every one to step up and take up their responsibility. I think just linking that to, there's a legislation or a framework here in the UK. I think it applies national globally, that safeguarding is everyone's responsibility. So I'll end there for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Nelly. Yes, you've said a lot of things about the impact of lack of responsibility or irresponsibility on the parents' part if they do not look after the children that they bring into this world. And it's a crucial point because, yes, a baby who is born is totally dependent on the adult or the main carer. There is nothing, their very survival depends on another person entirely. And as such, how they develop and how they view the world is shaped by that first early carer. So it's important that we take our responsibilities seriously. Yes, we may have the expectations that the world puts on us on how we should, or what we should, how we should parent even, but we have to do at least the basic minimum. Give that love. Love is the basic, like the baseline of what you can give any child that you bring into this world. Love is the basic. Now, even if you do not have food, even if you do not have a good shelter, even if you do not have clothes on your back, but you have love, sometimes that is enough to keep you surviving until somebody maybe comes and helps you. But if you do not have all those things, do not have love, you cannot look at somebody and they look back at you with a smile and with that caring heart. Like you said, you're a social worker. You've seen the impact on children, on babies. I work with children who are delayed in their language development. Neglect is one of the biggest, one of the things that cause language delay, because when a child is neglected, nobody's talking to them. We've heard stories about how parents have left their children at home and gone party 2 days, 3 days, and the doors have to be broken down to rescue these children. So it is important that as adults, before we bring children into the world, we think carefully, or even if it's a mistake and you know that you cannot take care of that child, give it away. Give it to somebody who would look after them. The adoption agency, the couples out there who want children, but they cannot have children but there are lots of people who have them and they're maltreating them. Life is very strange. So yes, society places expectations on us as adults, as parents, to look after our children. Now, as a parent, because we've talked about children and parents, we've talked about our own parents, we've talked about parents themselves. What now are the expectations as a parent that you place on your children? Don't give me the refined version. Start from when you didn't know all these things and come to where you are now. What has your journey been?
Yeah, okay. Growing up as a middle child, I like children because our household was always full. So when I got into adulthood, when I had my first child, things changed because I looked at my child and I knew that I was the parent, I was the mom. It was really, really strange. I used to carry my child, my first child, and I would just be staring into her eyes, looking at her because I am an introvert. And at that time, I didn't even know that I was an introvert. I just knew that I was a quiet and shy person. I would sit with my daughter. That skin to skin contact was there. I would smile to her, but I didn't even know how to speak to a child. And then when my mom came, she would hold my daughter and she would sing and she would talk, and my daughter would be, and I would be like, Mommy, what are you doing? And she'll be like, I'm talking to, she would say, her granddaughter. And I'll be like, she's just a baby, a few weeks old. She will not understand. Mom said, be practicing. Be practicing. I said, but how can I be talking to a baby who cannot even respond to me? So I realized that was, in retrospect now, that was an expectation that my mom put on me, that I had to be speaking to my daughter. But it was strange that speaking to a baby who knows nothing. And my daughter did not speak until she started going to nursery in Cameroon, and she was 3 years plus at that time. Then when I had my second daughter, I had learned to be talking bit by bit and then play. Because my mom used to play, I would say, some very childish games. And I used to look at her and say, Mom, you are too childish. And she would laugh at me. And she would say, it's for the baby, not for me. And I was like, okay. So my second child, it was different because I started gaining that confidence to be talking. And then by the time I had my third child, I was like a pro in talking to children. And then my fourth child, there was no issue because I was really into it. But for my children, I have expectations on them. Some simple ones that are on a daily basis is keep the house clean. It sounds basic, but it's not basic as it sounds. Because like, I expect that the children will, after using a cutlery or plate, wash after themselves immediately, because that is my own frame of reference, that I wash things as I go along. But for my children, it's not. They will soak it. Even sometimes it's a glass. They'll drink water and they'll soak the glass. And I'm thinking, what are you soaking in that glass when you drank just water? Just rinse it off and put it to dry. So that was when I didn't know or didn't get into all this work that I've got into till now. So expectations that I have for my children was, I am a sporty person. My children's dad is a sporty person. All of my children are sporty as well. So we expected them and we got them into the sports that they liked. Like the first three, they got into tennis. So it was our responsibility to take them for training, take them to games, matches, and things like that. Then they had, they played football. So the third and the fourth, they played football. Again, it was our responsibility. We expected them to be ready. So we take them for those training. And again, it's very inconveniencing because we need to play around, we need to make ourselves available around children, of which sometimes is really hard because you come back, you are really tired, and it's like, no, I don't want to. Again, as a parent, it is that responsibility that we need to do. So most of the things that we do as parents, it's not that we really enjoy them, it's that responsibility. So back to the expectations, there are just so many different expectations. One is clean your room. Because for myself, as I put my legs down, as I get off the bed and my legs are down, my hand just goes to tidy the bed. But it's not like that for my children. It's my expectation that they do the same, but no. Some of them do, some of them don't. And I'm like, just keep your. So to me, because I've been doing it for so long, it just seems as if it's automatic. I need to do it, but that is my own expectation. It's not working for
you
my
went
children.
to a boarding school. You expected, otherwise to be punished. It's a different environment.
Yeah. So yeah, those are just a few, but there are loads and loads of expectations that are placed on my children. For instance, or another example is respect. My children know that respect is number one, because if sometimes any of them gets upset and they want to shout at me, I don't answer. Sometimes it's just a look on my face, or I just sit quiet and I don't say anything. And once they have vented, they'll realize that, oh, they didn't have to speak to me that way, because I give them that chance. And then sometimes we go over it again and say, okay, you spoke to me this way. It was very rude. I don't want that. It's not nice. I said, because I don't speak to you that way. So you don't need to speak to anyone. So again, that is my own expectations, that my children need to be respectful, regardless of who you are. Have respect, because it's like keeping your morals in check, not that just say whatever comes to mind because of the emotions that you are experiencing. You need to be able to manage that expectations, because if not, those emotions, because if not, then relationships will break down. So yeah, those are some of the expectations that I place on my children. I don't know if you want me to go further, but I would like to end here. I have loads.
Of course. We're not going to exhaust this topic, so we're just touching the surface anyway. Yes, so thank you, Nelly, for that. Some of those expectations chime with me, because as a parent, we expect our children to be respectful, because you show respect to other people and you expect to receive respect in return. And when that respect doesn't come back, feelings are hurt and people can say things that they later regret. But like we said, you expect them to manage their emotions. We as well put the same expectations on ourselves, because we have to model what we expect of them. So if we have not taught our children how to do something, we should not expect them to be able to do it. Because sometimes we parent retrospectively, reactively. We do not do proactively parent, because when, as a proactive parent, you say, okay, these are the rules, these are the boundaries, these are the consequences, Tony. And when we've set the ground rules, we put our boundaries and we put the consequences in place, then if anybody breaches one of those, then they know what's coming afterwards. But sometimes we wait for them to do something wrong and then we shout at them, when we've not even taught them what to know what to do. And so that is something that I had to learn as time went on as a parent. So like you, when I became a parent, the same expectations that I were placed on my parents were placed on my children. Be respectful, do your schoolwork, clean your room, tidy up, age dependent, obviously, depending on their level of development and their level of maturity, because yes, some 12-year-olds can be more mature than some 15-year-olds. And girls sometimes mature faster than boys. And as such, you deal with each child as an individual. The rules are generic, but you deal with them as individuals and with the level of maturity that they have. So yes, I expect them to listen, not to talk back at me, not to shout at me. I am not their friend. I am their parent. That level, that boundary is supposed to be there, especially when they are younger. Because if those boundaries are not there, then they start talking to you as if you were age mates, and that breeds a lot of disrespect later on. Because sometimes they do not know where to stop. They just do what they do with their friends. And that has happened sometimes in my house, and the look that I just give, they understand that you've crossed a boundary and you step back to where you belong. So it doesn't mean that you are not friendly. We play, we do all sorts of fun things, but that level of respect, you do not compromise, because they say familiarity breeds contempt. We're lovely, we're friendly with our children, I'm friendly with my children, but when it comes to certain things, respect, you have to give the parent the respect that are due. And it goes up to the point where I do not tolerate door banging, because I do not bang doors. And so I will not expect my child to bang the door at me. And if you bang the door, you're in trouble. So that is one of the things that like, it's an expectation, it's like an unwritten rule in our house. Nobody bangs doors. So another thing is to, some of the rules that expectations is to, keep your hands to yourself. Sometimes those are some rules that we do not even adhere to, because some people are very touchy-feely people. And by the time they want to say 1, 2 things, hey, hi, and sometimes we do not understand personal space, things like that. We need to listen to one another. Conversation happens between 2 people if one person speaks and the other listens. If we're all talking at the same time, then nobody's message gets heard. And obviously, another big one is do your schoolwork. That is a massive one. When we were growing up, maybe that is, I don't know, I have a laissez-faire type of attitude towards school, in that my parents never told me that, go do your homework, go study for your exam. It was just expected that you do those things. So we did. We went to school. I can tell you that from the day I went to school, the only thing that my father would say to you is that if you're not reading, go to bed. He didn't say you have to read 3 hours or 4 hours or 5 hours. If you're not reading, go to bed. But I passed my exams. I was always between 1 to 3, but not because my parents were behind me with a cane. No, that was because I just knew that this is what I did. When I first left primary school was like ABC, you just go, you write the pass, you out. Went to secondary school the first year, Form 1, I took number 18 in the class. Hey, it was like something has happened. Like, what happened? I thought that secondary school was like primary school. You just come, you study, you don't need to revise, you come and pass. Hey, biology, chemistry, physics, all those plenty subjects. You're like, what? So from that day, I knew that I have to revise. So same like, now we have to prompt the kids. Have you done your homework? Have you done your homework? Which is not something that I was used to, but now I have to do it because of the environment in which we are. The kids just want to do their own thing and they're on these gadgets all the time. And if you do not remind them about their homework, sometimes they do not do it. So even though we expect them to study and work hard, as a parent, we also have the responsibility of monitoring what they are doing. It so happened that we were blessed that God blessed us with intelligence, and we did what we did to pass. But what about children who are not as intelligent, who struggle to pass their exams? You have to prompt them, you have to support them, you have to find them tutors if need be. So, and it will expect our children to come to us for help if they're struggling, because that is another thing. Because sometimes our children go, because the teenagers, obviously, now all of us are teenagers, they'll go and they have issues. Instead of coming to their parents, they go to their friends or to other people. And that is not a good feeling as a parent. So create that environment that, that, and tell them that, look, if you have any issues, we can talk about anything. So that is one of the expectations that I have for my children. And they know it, that they can come to me, they can talk about anything to me. If they're not doing, that is their choice. But they know that I'm here to listen to whatever they have to say. My reactions may not be very, I may not react favorably to some of the things that they may say, but I will listen. So those are some of the expectations that I have on my children. I don't know if you want to add to that, or yeah.
Yeah, when you were talking, there were many things. I was thinking, this, that. But I realized that I lost count of the things that because new ideas were just coming. Anyway, what I'll talk about is about, you talked about being you are friendly to your children and are not your friends. That is something that in my role as a social worker, I say that a lot, because parents, they say they want to make their children their friends. So already there's that blur boundary, because who is the parent and who is the child? And sometimes roles get reversed, because the child turns to play the role of the parent and the parent plays the role of the child. And it doesn't go. And in a lot of cases, that is when there's a lot of disrespect and the children just talk to their parents the way they talk to their friends. In that instance, it's something you said for the parents to be able to manage their emotions and put those boundaries in place. Make our children friendly, make them our friends, but we are not their friends. The reason why parents make their children friendly is create that nurturing environment, that children, we know you are at that stage, that adventurous stage, you will struggle. It's not that whether I like it or not, it is a must. You will struggle on some things. Come to us. So it's not actually telling the children that come to us. Just the way the conversations you have, it will make the children feel safe and secure, bringing up certain conversations with their parents. So it's for parents to open up, have conversations. Though now, even in the UK, a lot of African parents, they still have so many taboo topics that they don't talk with their children. Like you talk of us having teenagers, we have lots of teenagers who are struggling. They can't go to their parents because they want to talk to their parents. It's like, no, we don't talk about that. Keep it to yourself. Or, like that, the child will gradually learn that there, it's a no-go area. And then bit by bit, the relationship starts straining. And then it is pushing the child or the teenager to rely more on their friends. And then soon they will not be at home. So as much as we want our children to be parents, want children to be closer to us, we need to, yes, have those expectations, but we need to maintain and take our responsibility and set boundaries, maintain those boundaries, because sometimes regarding boundaries, parents put boundaries and they keep on shifting the boundaries because they want to please the child. They don't want the child to get upset. What you are doing at that time is convenient, but in the long run, the child will be confused because they've not learned how to self-regulate. It doesn't mean that when the child asks for something, you don't give them because they've asked for. You need to be rational about it. can you wait? If you can give it now, yes, give it. Sometimes parents tend to overgive to the child because of their individual fears. So look at it to deal with your child. Come from a place of pure love and not from fear. So yeah, I think that's just what I wanted to add. So,
thank you, Nelly. Oh, you've talked about that love and fear. We parent with sometimes fear a lot. Like you, like I've told you several times, certain things about my parenting, I just look at what could happen rather than the possibilities of, good things could happen. But I always go and think about the fear, the negative things that could happen first before I can start adjusting. So sometimes we need to reframe stuff, to think things differently, and not always look at the potential negatives when they might never happen anyway. It's just like it's just like you worry about something that you're thinking that will happen in the future that has never even may never ever happen. So yes, it's important that we love our children, we discipline them from a place of love, we put expectations on them from a place of love as well. Everything that we do with our children should come from a place of love, including discipline, including boundaries, because when boundaries are put there, they're for our own safety and not for just for the fun of it. Right, so that's expectations of parents that we put on our children, and we hope it's not too much, and we live in a society where our children are open enough to talk about or to push back on certain things, and as such we can readjust those expectations depending on each child. Really, as we have those conversations and as they grow older, the expectations change as well. So expectations are not set in stone. They are flexible, and we can move with as the children grow. And sometimes these expectations can come with negative things as well. As much as we expect things to happen nicely, sometimes the expectations that we put on our children may be too much. So for example, we expect them to go to school, learn, and become some responsible citizens and adults, get a job or start a business or whatever. But sometimes as parents, the parents who can take over the child's life and say, okay, you have to be a doctor, you have to be a lawyer, you have to be a footballer. So they want to live their dreams through their children. And as such, they put unrealistic expectations on the kids, and the kids start buckling under pressure, and sometimes they rebel or they become mentally ill because of the expectations that have been placed on them. And this can breed resentment, anger, frustration, all kinds of negative emotions in those children. And sometimes it comes out in behaviors that are unwanted. So, do you have anything to say about this over expectation, the negative aspects that expectation brings on children, that parents put on their children, and it causes negative impacts on their lives?
yeah, that's massive. As a transformational life coach, I say that a lot because, like you said before, our adulthood is shaped by our childhood and those who take care of us when we are children. And sometimes our parents or the carers, they pass on their fears onto the children that they are taking care of. And that's how it shapes ourselves, how we see ourselves, others, and the world. And the expectations we place on, is that a question?
Okay, have you seen some of the negative impacts that
I've
parents place
now
on their children?
Yeah, so I will talk again and go back to African community because that's where we are from. Parents, just like what you said, place a lot of their dreams through their children. Say you must be a whatever profession. And that one has negative impact on the children because even speaking to some people who have studied and have a doctorate degree, some of them, if you listen now, they are coming out to say, I was good at my job, but I did not like it. Look, even within your place of work, you will see people who are good at their jobs, but they don't like it. If you drill deep down, some of them went into the jobs they are doing or the professions they are doing, not because they liked it, because their parents directed them there. Some parents even threaten the children, you must do that you must study that and become whatever. And I think that contributes to why people spend, like there was a research that says 85% of people globally don't enjoy their jobs. Probably, I don't know, that could be an element. Why is it that you spend several hours every day at a job that you don't like? So my take is, with all this wealth of information that we as parents have, unless you choose not to make use of the information, we can help our children come out with what or identify what they are good at, because everyone is intelligent with something, because everyone has innate abilities. If someone is not intelligent academically, they are intelligent practically. Is to find that out, and it's all down to awareness, then support that child to come up, because sometimes parents say, you have to go to school and become a doctor. When that child is not academically intelligent, there might be the hands-on person who will excel well in doing the practical work.
Great, yeah.
So if it's to find out what that child is good at, ask them. You might prompt them, so that, because they might know what they like, but they might not know how to express. There is to be prompting them, give them different options, let them make their decisions on what they want to do, because that one will really help them to excel in whatever they choose to do, especially because they know themselves and they feel, even if they can't express what they want to do, but they know and they feel it, that if they do this, they know it will be really good for them because they will enjoy it. And I think like that, it will help a lot of people, and even our community, the world as a whole, because I believe it will reduce a lot of the suffering, because suffering, mainly the mental suffering, outweighs the physical suffering, because what goes on in your head, like you said something similar, what goes on in your head is way too much, and it brings about a lot of physical diseases, because that negative energy rests somewhere in the body as an illness or ailment. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Nelly. That is so true. Yes, some parents like to live their dreams through their children, or they want to, and that puts untold pressure on children. One of this expectation, this academic expectation, is something that I have learned in the past few months to bring down myself on as well, because I've got children as well, one who struggled with anxiety as well. And as such, because of the things that she's finally disclosed to me, and we've talked about it, I started looking at, like, going through all these school years and struggling with anxiety, but succeeding to do what you needed to do. That was a massive, massive thing to celebrate. And I've learned in the past few months, I've got 3 children who are still in high school, and each has their own challenge. I still have to prompt them to do the work that they need to do and support them as best I can. And each one has a different need. Each one has a different challenge. And as such, I'm learning in the moment to be different things to these different children. And it is a challenge, to be honest with you, it's a challenge because one person needs a lot more support with emotionally, another person needs a lot more support with behavior, another one needs a lot more support with extracurricular or doing homework. So they're all different. And like I said to you, this when I started this year, it's like God told me that be present now. Don't always do things retrospectively. You're helping other people with the things that you've learned from when yours were tiny, but now be present now that they are teenagers for now, what they need you for now. And so I try and ask them, do you have anything to talk about? Do you want to talk about anything? Most often than not, they say no. But I cannot force them to speak. And as such, I've learned to say, okay, you're struggling with finishing your work. Just try, finish it to the end of the year. You can take a gap year and do something else and find out what you want to do next year. So I'm learning to release some of those expectations. And it is a hard struggle. It has been a hard struggle, to be honest with you. It has been a hard struggle for like my daughter who just finished her A-levels. When I see her sitting there in front of that TV playing games, all of my body is like itching to say, you should be studying. I'm like, have you studied today? You know, but in the grand scheme of things, if she puts all her energies into the work and studies and then breaks down mentally, what do I do with her? School in the UK is very flexible. You can do anything at any age, at any time. So if you miss 1 year, it is not the end of the world. You can miss 1 year and catch up and do things when you're in a stable frame of mind, where you can do things the right way, and you catch up more than people who have cramped it on and done it. So I've learned to be more flexible and more relaxed about the academic side of things. Now what I'm focused on is that they should be emotionally fine. So if they're emotionally happy, if they're emotionally settled, I am settled. And it has been a journey for me. So that is something that I just wanted to bring out here, because some parents may be going through similar things, or may be trying to put pressure on their children to have all A grades and forget about the emotional aspect of that child's development. So I'm not saying that everything should work the way it works for me, but that is my journey. And we share here so that we can learn from each other. And if anybody has stories to share, welcoming your stories. So yeah, do you have anything to add to that?
I have loads to add.
When
it comes to emotions, I always have loads.
Relationships and expectations are replaced with other relationships and families. So I'm going to end with this once with the kids. Yeah, I think. Go on.
Yeah. Okay. So on the emotion, what you've said is really crucial there, because I think that the language, the vocabulary that we are using now is changing, because when we were in Cameroon, we didn't know about emotions. And even right now as we're talking, there are lots and lots of parents, African parents, who are clueless about emotions. They say, you need to do this. It is an order, you must do it. And it ends there. They have said it and they expect the outcome. And a lot of children, they really struggle, but because they don't have that support, they just sit in silence and they really struggle. But just going back to something you've said about how you question your children, I just picked up that when you are asking them if they have something to say, you ask it in the negative, which highly likely they tell you, they respond, no, they don't have anything to talk about. And the second point is, you are suggesting what you think they want to do, whereas leave it to them. Ask open question that, okay, for instance, I'm just making this up, it might align, it might not align, that, okay, you feel whatever feeling you are regarding continuous education, what do you think instead of suggesting that you can take a gap year, ask them, what do you think, or what is your plan for the next 1 year, for the next 2 years? You are giving them that opening to think about, because they know what they want, but probably they've never articulated it. When you ask that open question, they'll start thinking, oh, probably I might want a gap year. But if you already suggest that you might take a gap year, it's highly likely they would say yes, because it's already a suggestion you are making. So I just thought I'd put that out there so you try to reframe. I mean, I am saying this because I had to learn the hard way to be able to be picking up these things, because like I've said on this show, for several years, I was not able to discipline my children because my emotions I felt very, very low, very, very low, because even talking to my children, I want to say something. And because I didn't even feel that I was in my body, I would just start crying. That's how low I went. I didn't have the courage. I don't even know if it's courage. I didn't have I would say ability. I don't know the right word to use, but I was unable to discipline my children. So I got to, the lowest depth, seeing my children, and I was like, I wouldn't leave my children to continue like that. And I knew I had to help myself first, because I wasn't able to manage my emotions, which is why most of the things that I talk about is about emotions, because I had gone to the lowest of lows, and I have learned a lot. Now I'm just who I am now, and I am doing what I'm doing to help other people too. Like, you might be watching and thinking, oh, it's because they have, no, I had probably, if you hear my story, probably my experiences is worse than yours, but I'm not comparing. Everyone is unique. Everyone is an individual. Your issues might be too much for you, the same as mine. But the take-home message is that if you give yourself permission, you can become the better version of yourself. Ask for help. I'll end there for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Nelly. Right. No, let me just come back to that point about asking the questions. I just said I give them the opportunity. I tell them you can ask, you can talk if you want to. So I was just saying about the gap year is that education in England, it wasn't specific to the child. I was just saying here that education is in England is flexible. We can do anything at any time. I went back to university in 2018. How old was I then? So looking back at my own experiences, that's why I just told her that you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. So it's up to her what she wants. She already knows what she wants to do, and she said what she wants to do. So how it pans out when results come out might be a different outcome, you know? So we're just here to support. That's our job. And I'm really grateful that we're working together, because I sound out a lot of things to you, and it makes me reflect on a lot of things. So let me say it out on the airways that, yeah, you're quite helpful and supporting. You're one of my support systems, I would say. Thank you for that. Right, so we have gone, we've done an hour, and we've just looked at expectations that we had for our parents, expectations that we have for our children, and that's just it for an hour. So imagine if we start now talking about the expectations that we have for our spouses, or our significant other, or our own siblings. We'll go on for another couple of hours. So I think today we're gonna end here and tell you about what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. Nelly?
So we have started with this project, which is called Explore Your Neighborhood. It is for people living within Greater Manchester. And what we intend doing, we have done one trip already, where we visited a reservoir, and it was so, so beautiful. So we have this event every first Saturday of the month. So on our website, we have a link, and even on our Facebook page, we send out the reminders. So you need to register to have a place to go or to join us for this event. So what we do is each month we go to a different site. Last time we went to a reservoir. The next one we'll look for, it's a surprise, we're not telling her. So upon registration, you will know where we are going to. So we go to different places, we'll learn about the history, just being in nature, having an opportunity to socialize, belong in a group of people where nothing really formal, just having a relaxed time, walking, talking, having some picnic and things like that, just to make life.
And children are welcome. So they're gonna have fun as well, make new friends. Yeah.
Yep.
So if you want to join us on the 1st of July, visit our website, as Nelly has said.
Yeah, we will put a link where you can book on Eventbrite.
So you can book on our website or on Eventbrite, or send us a direct message on Facebook. And if you want to find out more about the things that we do, visit our website on www.handhandcommunitycic.com. So I hope that this evening has been useful. I hope that being vulnerable and sharing our lives with you guys will encourage you to be vulnerable, or to have a reflection on your own lives and see what the expectations you place on yourselves are, what expectations you're placing on your children, and whether you're meeting your children's expectations as well. So it is important that we reflect on our lives, because sometimes when we do not talk about these things, we're not even aware that we're doing them, because we just live like remote control people, and we're just going without stopping and thinking, or gasping for, stopping and taking a deep breath and reflecting on, where am I actually going? What am I actually doing? Am I living a life that I crafted, or am I living a life that was crafted for me? So it is important that we stop and think and reflect on the expectations that we have of ourselves and of others.
Yes, that's really true. And a nice way to end, because a lot of us live on autopilot. We just do things because we are meant to do them. Mm-hmm. We share our experiences to help you know that it's time to stop, take a pause, and then reflect. Why am I doing this the way I'm doing it? Where did it come from? So that you take conscious decisions, make conscious choices. That's the only way you can change your situation. If not, you'll just continue, but the choice is yours. Thank you so much, and have a good rest of the day.
Evening. See you next week.
Next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.